The abyss calls to you. Do you hear it? It's a whisper, almost imperceptible, a silent invitation to the unknown. Many spend their entire lives pretending not to hear this call, keeping themselves occupied with mundane distractions, fearing what they might find if they dare to answer. But you are here. Something inside you knows there is more to existence than meets the eye, more than the ordinary mind can comprehend. Welcome to the edge of spiritual awakening. These words are not mere poetry. They are the gateway to the 9 crucial tests of spiritual awakening you must face. A journey that will challenge not only what you think about the world, but who you believe yourself to be. Spiritual awakening is not for the faint-hearted. It is not about lighting scented candles or repeating mantras without understanding them. It is a deep dive into the turbulent waters of consciousness, a courageous confrontation with truths we prefer to ignore. It is waking up from a dream that has lasted your entire life, only to realize that reality is infinitely vaster and more mysterious than you ever imagined. But why tests? Why crucial? Because each of these 9 challenges represents a turning point, a moment of truth in your spiritual journey. These are the crossroads where many give up, where the comfort of the familiar struggles against the call of the unknown. Overcoming them is not just possible, it is necessary for those who seek a deeper understanding of existence. In this video, we will dive into the depths of these tests, from facing the terrifying void of the unknown to learning the transformative power of genuine forgiveness. We will explore how detachment can set us free, how confronting our ego can reveal us, and how embracing impermanence can paradoxically root us more deeply in the present. Do not expect easy answers or quick fixes. This is not a self-help manual with 5 simple steps to enlightenment. It is a map to the uncharted territories of your own consciousness, with all the dangers and wonders that entails. As we move forward, remember, there is no rush. These tests are not obstacles to be quickly overcome, but experiences to be fully lived. Many spend a lifetime exploring just one of them. What matters is the journey, the commitment to continuous growth. So, take a deep breath. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet, for soon you will be navigating the ethereal realms of the spirit. Are you ready to take the first step into the unknown? Let us begin our journey with the first, and perhaps most intimidating of the 9 tests, facing the void that resides at the heart of all existence. The first test, facing the void. Imagine yourself standing before a vast desert at night. There is no moon, no stars, only infinite darkness stretching in all directions. This is the void that many fear, but that we must all face on our spiritual journey. The void is not merely the absence of material things. It is a state of being in which all our mental constructs, emotional attachments, and deeply ingrained beliefs dissolve. It is the moment when we find ourselves stripped of everything we once thought defined who we are. Why is this test crucial? Because it is in the void that we encounter the fundamental truth of our existence. It is here that we can finally see beyond the illusions we have built throughout our lives. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called this existential nausea, the moment we realize that the universe is indifferent to us, and that we alone are responsible for creating meaning in our lives. Many of us spend our lives running from this void. We keep ourselves constantly busy, distract ourselves with endless entertainment, cling to relationships, possessions, and ideas, all to avoid looking into the abyss within ourselves. But fleeing from the void is fleeing from an essential part of who we are. Facing the void does not mean embracing nihilism or falling into depression. On the contrary, it is an opportunity for profound liberation. When we accept the void, paradoxically, we open ourselves to a fullness we never imagined possible. How can we face this test? First, we must recognize that the fear of the void is natural. It is an instinctive response of the ego, which fears its own dissolution. But instead of fighting this fear, we can observe it with curiosity and compassion. Meditation is a powerful tool for this process. Not meditation that seeks to fill the mind with visualizations or mantras, but meditation on the void, zazen, as it is called in the Zen tradition. Sit in silence and observe your mind. Do not try to control your thoughts, simply watch them come and go. Over time, you may begin to notice the spaces between thoughts, the silence underlying mental activity. Another method is deep contemplation. Ask yourself, who am I really beyond my social roles, my possessions, my beliefs? Do not settle for superficial answers. Keep questioning until all answers are exhausted and you find yourself face to face with the unknown. Remember, facing the void is not something you do once and then move on. It is an ongoing practice. There will be moments of deep clarity followed by periods of confusion and doubt. This is normal and part of the process. As you become more comfortable with the void, you may begin to experience a growing sense of freedom. Worries that once seemed so important may start to lose their power over you. You may feel more present, more connected to the present moment. This is the paradox of the void. The more we accept it, the fuller we become. It is as if, by letting go of everything we thought we were, we finally become who we truly are. But facing the void is only the first step. As we continue our journey, we discover that there is another aspect of our lives that must be examined closely: our attachment to the material world. And that is exactly what we will explore next, as we delve into the second crucial test of spiritual awakening. The second test, detachment from the material world. From the void, we emerge to find a world full of things: objects, possessions, wealth, the material realm that surrounds us and often defines us. Welcome to the second crucial test of spiritual awakening, detachment from the material world. But what exactly does detachment mean? It is not about abandoning everything you own and living as a hermit in a cave. Material detachment is a state of mind, a shift in perspective regarding our relationship with the physical world. We live in a society that constantly bombards us with messages that we need more. More money, more clothes, more technology, more status. We are led to believe that happiness lies in the next purchase, in the next material achievement. But how many of us have achieved everything we thought we wanted, only to realize that we still feel empty inside? This is where the challenge of detachment comes in. It is not about denying the material world, but understanding its true nature. Things come and go. They wear out, break, and lose value. If we base our happiness and sense of identity on them, we are building on shifting sands. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. When we cling to material things, we create expectations and fears. We fear losing them, worry about protecting them, and constantly compare ourselves to others. This cycle of desire and fear keeps us trapped in a state of constant dissatisfaction. Practicing detachment does not mean that you cannot appreciate the good things in life. On the contrary, true detachment allows us to enjoy what we have more fully, because we are not constantly anxious about losing it or obtaining more. How can we cultivate detachment in our lives? Start by observing your thoughts and emotions regarding your possessions. When you buy something new, how long does the satisfaction last? Do you find yourself constantly wanting more or comparing what you have with what others own? A powerful exercise is the practice of gratitude. Each day, take a moment to appreciate what you already have, instead of focusing on what is missing. This simple shift in perspective can radically change your sense of abundance. Another method is intentional minimalism. It is not about getting rid of everything, but about being more conscious of what you choose to keep in your life. Ask yourself, does this truly add value to my life, or am I keeping it out of habit or fear of letting go? Remember, detachment is a gradual process. Do not judge yourself if you still feel attached to certain things. Awareness is the first step. Over time and with practice, you may begin to feel a growing sense of freedom as your sense of identity and self-worth become less tied to your material possessions. As we move forward on this journey of detachment, we may start to notice something surprising. What binds us most is often not external things, but something much closer and seemingly essential: our own ego. And it is precisely this crucial aspect of our psyche that we will face in the next test of spiritual awakening. The third test, confronting the ego. Detaching from the material world is a challenge, but there is something even harder to let go of: our own identity. Welcome to the third crucial test of spiritual awakening, confronting the ego. But what exactly is the ego? It is not simply the sense of I that we all have. The ego is a complex mental construct. a narrative we create about who we are, based on our experiences, beliefs, and conditioning. It is the self that constantly seeks validation, compares itself to others, fears failure, and craves success. The ego is not inherently bad. It plays an important role in our survival and functioning in the world. The problem arises when we completely identify with it, believing that this mental construct is all that we are. Eckhart Tolle, author of The Power of Now, describes the ego as a false identity based on identification with form. This form can be our body, our mind, our possessions, our titles, or anything else we use to define ourselves. Confronting the ego is crucial because as long as we are fully identified with it, we remain trapped in patterns of thought and behavior that keep us separated from our true nature and from others. The ego creates division, judgment, and suffering. How do we recognize the influence of the ego in our lives? Observe your thoughts and emotions. Do you often feel defensive? Do you constantly seek approval from others? Do you struggle to admit mistakes? These are all signs of a dominant ego. Confronting the ego does not mean destroying it, but rather transcending it. It is a process of disidentification, of creating space between who we truly are and the stories we tell about ourselves. A powerful practice to start this process is self-observation. Become a vigilant observer of your own thoughts and emotions. When you catch yourself reacting defensively or seeking validation, pause and ask, who is observing this reaction? This simple question can create a crack in your identification with the ego. Mindfulness meditation is also a valuable tool. By practicing being present in the moment without judgment, we begin to notice that there is a deeper awareness beyond the thoughts and emotions we normally identify with. Another important aspect is cultivating humility. Not false humility that is just another form of ego, but a true understanding of our smallness in the grand scheme of things. Contemplating the vastness of the universe, the complexity of life on Earth, can help us release the need to always be special or superior. Psychologist Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the aspects of ourselves that we repress or deny. Confronting the ego also means being willing to look at these shadow parts, accept them, and integrate them. As we progress in this process, we may begin to experience moments of deep freedom, moments where we are no longer trapped in our personal story or in others' expectations. In these moments, we can touch something vaster and more real than the ego could ever be. But beware, the ego is cunning. It can even hijack the spiritual journey itself, creating a spiritual ego that prides itself on its own enlightenment. This is why this is an ongoing process of vigilance and self-honesty. As we begin to release our rigid identification with the ego, we open ourselves to a fundamental truth of existence, the impermanence of all things. And it is precisely this challenging truth that we will face in the next crucial test of our spiritual journey. The fourth test, accepting impermanence. Confronting the ego leads us to an inescapable truth of existence. Nothing lasts forever. Welcome to the fourth crucial test of spiritual awakening, accepting impermanence. Impermanence is a central concept in many spiritual traditions, particularly in Buddhism. It is the understanding that everything in the universe is in constant flux, continuously changing. Our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, our relationships, even mountains and stars. Everything is subject to transformation and dissolution. At first glance, this may seem like a depressing truth. After all, we are conditioned to seek stability and permanence. We build homes, make plans for the future, and cling to memories of the past. The idea that all of this is temporary can be deeply unsettling. However, it is precisely in the acceptance of impermanence that we can find profound freedom. When we truly understand that nothing lasts forever, paradoxically, we become more capable of fully appreciating the present moment. Imagine holding a snowflake in your hand. If you try to grasp it tightly, it melts instantly. But if you hold it gently, you can admire its unique beauty before it disappears. The same applies to all aspects of our lives. How can we cultivate acceptance of impermanence? One powerful practice is to regularly contemplate change. Observe the passing seasons. the movement of clouds in the sky, your own body aging day by day. Do not resist these changes. Instead, try to embrace them as a natural part of life. Meditation on death, as unsettling as it may seem at first, is another valuable tool. It is not about becoming obsessed with death, but about using the awareness of our mortality as a catalyst to live more fully. Stoic philosopher Epictetus advised, "When you kiss your child in the morning, tell yourself, 'He may die this afternoon.'" Is this morbid? No, it is a fact. By ignoring this truth, we become enslaved by it. This perspective is not meant to induce fear, but to awaken us to the preciousness of each moment. As we practice accepting impermanence, we may notice a subtle shift in our perspective. The small irritations of daily life lose their power over us. We become more capable of letting go of what is past and less anxious about the future. There is a growing openness to life exactly as it is, in all its fleeting beauty. This acceptance of impermanence prepares us for the next challenge in our spiritual journey. For when we deeply understand that everything changes and passes, we open ourselves to a wider connection with all existence. And it is this profound connection that we will explore next as we face the fifth crucial test: universal compassion. The fifth test, universal compassion. From the acceptance of impermanence, we emerge with a more open heart, ready to face the fifth crucial test of spiritual awakening: universal compassion. This is a quantum leap in our journey, as it moves us beyond ourselves and connects us deeply with all beings. Universal compassion goes far beyond sympathy or pity. It is a state of consciousness in which we fundamentally recognize our interconnectedness with all life. It is not just feeling for someone, but feeling with them. It is the ability to truly put ourselves in another's place, whether that other is a human, an animal, or even an entire ecosystem. The Dalai Lama defines compassion as a sensitivity to the suffering of others with a deep commitment to trying to alleviate it. But why is this so crucial in our spiritual journey? Because universal compassion is the antidote to selfishness, fear, and the separation that causes so much suffering in the world. However, cultivating universal compassion is not easy. Our instincts for self-preservation, our prejudices, and our fears can create significant barriers. We may feel overwhelmed by the magnitude of suffering in the world or resistant to opening our hearts to those we consider different or even enemies. How then can we develop this vital quality? A powerful practice is metta meditation, or loving-kindness meditation. In this practice, we start by sending love and good wishes to ourselves, then to loved ones, then to acquaintances, then to strangers, and finally to all beings, including those with whom we have difficulties. Another approach is to actively cultivate empathy in our daily lives. When we encounter someone, whether a stranger on the street or a co-worker, try to imagine their life, their struggles, their hopes. What might be behind their behavior or attitudes? The practice of selfless service, or karma yoga in the Hindu tradition, is another powerful way to develop universal compassion. Find ways to help others without expecting anything in return. This could be as simple as an act of kindness toward a stranger or volunteering in your community. It is crucial to remember that universal compassion also includes ourselves. Often we are our own harshest critics. Learning to have compassion for our own flaws and struggles is an essential step toward extending that compassion to others. As we practice universal compassion, we may begin to notice profound changes in our experience of life. The barriers between me and the other start to dissolve. We feel a deeper connection with the world around us. Our actions naturally become more aligned with the well-being of all. However, it is important to avoid the trap of spiritual bypassing, using the idea of universal compassion to avoid dealing with real problems or ignoring injustice. True compassion sometimes requires firm and courageous action in the face of suffering and oppression. As we open ourselves to this greater connection with all life, we may feel overwhelmed by the vastness of this experience. This is where our next test becomes crucial: the ability to find inner silence amidst the chaos of existence. In the next test, we will explore how to cultivate this inner silence, an essential quality that allows us to navigate with grace through the challenges of universal compassion and our entire spiritual journey. The sixth test, Inner silence. From the vastness of universal compassion, we now turn inward to the sixth crucial test of spiritual awakening, cultivating inner silence. This is an especially relevant challenge in our modern world, filled with noise, distractions, and constant stimulation. Inner silence is not merely the absence of external sound. It is a state of mental stillness, a pause in the incessant chatter of our minds. It is the space between thoughts, the fertile void from which all creativity and inspiration arise. Many spiritual traditions emphasize the importance of silence. In Christian mysticism, there is the saying, "Silence is the language of God." In Taoism, Lao Tzu teaches, "Silence is a source of great strength." And in Zen meditation, silence is seen as the very essence of practice. Why is inner silence so crucial? Because it is in this silence that we can hear the voice of our deepest intuition, our connection with the universe. It is in silence that we can perceive the subtle truths that are drowned out by the noise of our thinking mind. Cultivating inner silence, however, can be extremely challenging. Our minds are conditioned to think constantly, to plan, worry, and reminisce. Moreover, many of us fear silence because it forces us to face parts of ourselves that we prefer to ignore. How, then, can we develop this essential skill? Meditation, of course, is a powerful tool. But do not think of meditation only as something you do sitting on a cushion. Try incorporating moments of silent awareness into your daily life. When doing a routine task, washing dishes, walking, or drinking tea, do it with complete attention without the usual mental chatter. The practice of not doing can also be transformative. Set aside time each day to simply be, without any goal or purpose. Sit in a park, gaze out a window, lie on the grass. Do not try to accomplish anything, just be present. As we practice inner silence, we may begin to notice subtle but profound changes. Our reactions become less automatic. We find more space between stimulus and response. Our intuition becomes sharper, our creativity more fluid. However, it is important to remember that inner silence is not a permanent state we reach once and for all. It is a continuous practice, a constant return to the still center amid life's turbulence. As we cultivate this silence, we prepare to face one of the greatest obstacles in our spiritual journey, fear. And it is precisely this powerful barrier that we will address in the next crucial test of our awakening. The seventh test, overcoming fear. From the depths of inner silence, we now emerge to confront one of the most powerful forces shaping our human experience, fear. Welcome to the seventh crucial test of spiritual awakening, the test of overcoming fear. Fear is a deeply ingrained emotion, an evolutionary response that has kept us alive as a species. However, in our spiritual journey, fear often becomes the greatest obstacle to our growth and expansion of consciousness. This is not just about fear of physical danger, but about deeper existential fears. Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of loss, fear of death. These fears can keep us trapped in limiting patterns, preventing us from fully living and embracing our true nature. As Marianne Williamson said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Often what we fear most is not our weakness, but our own light. How can we overcome fear on our spiritual journey? The first step is to recognize that fear itself is not the enemy. It is a natural part of the human experience. The problem arises when we allow fear to control or paralyze us. A powerful practice is feeling the fear and acting anyway. When faced with fear, instead of retreating, we can choose to move through it consciously. This does not mean being reckless, but rather acting with courage and discernment. Mindfulness meditation is a valuable tool for working with fear. Observe fear as a sensation in the body without judgment. Notice how it arises, changes, and eventually passes. This practice helps us disidentify from fear, seeing it as a transient experience rather than a fixed part of who we are. Another approach is to question the reality of our fears. Many times we discover that what we fear is simply a projection of our mind, not a concrete reality. Byron Katie suggests asking 4 questions. Is it true? Can I be absolutely sure that it is true? How do I react when I believe this thought? Who would I be without this thought? As we practice overcoming fear, we may notice a profound shift in our experience of life. We become more open, more willing to take risks, and more capable of living authentically. However, overcoming fear does not mean never feeling fear again. It is about developing a new relationship with fear, one in which it no longer dictates our choices and actions. As we move beyond fear, we encounter one of the most challenging and transformative aspects of our spiritual journey: forgiveness. And it is precisely this liberating power that we will explore in the next crucial test of awakening. The 8th test: deep forgiveness. As we emerge from the shadow of fear, we encounter one of the most transformative and, at times, most difficult challenges of our spiritual journey: deep forgiveness. This is the 8th crucial test of spiritual awakening. Forgiveness goes far beyond simply saying, "I forgive you." It is a profound process of release, the release of pain, resentment, and even traumas that we may have carried for years or decades. It is a journey of the heart that has the power to free us from emotional prisons we did not even realize we were in. But why is forgiveness so crucial to our spiritual path? Because as long as we hold on to grudges and resentment, we remain tied to the past, unable to fully live in the present. Unforgiveness is a burden that weighs on our relationships, our health, and our inner peace. However, it is important to understand that forgiveness does not mean condoning harmful actions or denying our pain. It also does not necessarily mean reconciliation or forgetting what happened. As Wayne Dyer said, "Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet leaves on the heel that crushes it." How can we practice deep forgiveness? A powerful first step is acknowledging that forgiveness is something we do primarily for ourselves, not for the other person. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the control that pain and resentment have over us. A highly effective meditative practice is to visualize the person we need to forgive and mentally say, "I release you," and in doing so, I release myself. Repeat this several times, allowing emotions to surface without judgment. Another approach is writing a forgiveness letter, not to send, but to express your feelings fully and then burn or tear the paper as a symbolic act of release. It is essential to remember that forgiveness also extends to ourselves. Often, we are our own harshest judges. Practicing self-forgiveness can be deeply healing and transformative. As we cultivate deep forgiveness, we may notice surprising changes in our lives. Old tensions dissolve, relationships heal, and a sense of lightness and freedom emerges where there was once bitterness. However, forgiveness is rarely a one-time event. It is a process, often requiring us to forgive the same person or situation multiple times until true healing is complete. As we move through this test of forgiveness, we approach the culmination of our spiritual journey, a state of being that synthesizes all the previous tests and places us in deep harmony with the flow of life. In the next and final test, we will explore the ultimate challenge: surrendering to the present moment. The 9th test: surrendering to the present moment. We have arrived at the 9th and final crucial test of spiritual awakening: surrendering to the present moment. This test synthesizes and culminates all the challenges we have faced throughout our journey. Surrendering to the present is not about passivity or resignation. It is an active state of deep acceptance and alignment with what is, here and now. It is the ability to be fully present, without resisting the current moment, no matter how it unfolds. The spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle describes this as the end of inner resistance to what is. It is a letting go of the mind's constant desire to be somewhere else, in another time, in another set of circumstances. Why is this test so crucial? Because life only happens in the present. The past exists only as a memory, and the future only as an imagination. The only real point of power we have is now. However, surrendering to the present can be incredibly challenging. Our minds are conditioned to constantly drift between past and future, reminiscing, planning, worrying. Moreover, we often resist the present when it does not meet our expectations or desires. How can we practice this surrender? One powerful approach is mindfulness, the practice of being fully present in each moment. Treat every experience as an opportunity to be completely aware, whether it is breathing, sensing your body, or listening to the sounds around you. When the mind wanders, gently bring it back to the now. Another practice is what Buddhist teachings call non-preference. Try to approach each situation with an open heart without immediately labeling it as good or bad. Observe things as they are, without the constant need for them to be different. Gratitude is also a powerful tool for anchoring ourselves in the present. Regularly pause and appreciate what is here now, the breath in your lungs, the ground beneath your feet, the life flowing through you. As we practice surrendering to the present, we may begin to notice profound changes in our experience. A deep sense of peace and acceptance emerges. Worries about the future and regrets about the past lose their grip on us. We feel more connected to life exactly as it is. However, it is important to remember that surrendering to the present is not a final state that we achieve once and for all. It is a continuous practice, a constant return to the now amidst the distractions and demands of life. As we integrate this practice, we begin to realize that all the tests we have faced, from the void to detachment, from compassion to forgiveness, converge on this ultimate truth: the ability to be fully present, open, and surrendered to the flow of life. And so, we reach the end of our exploration of the 9 crucial tests of spiritual awakening. But remember, this is not an end. It is a new beginning. We have reached the end of our journey through the 9 crucial tests of spiritual awakening. From facing the void to surrendering to the present, each test has challenged us to expand our consciousness and deepen our connection with life. Let us remember, spiritual awakening is not a destination but a continuous journey. These tests are not linear steps to be completed, but aspects of our experience that we will continue to explore and deepen throughout our lives. Each of us will face these challenges in unique ways. There will be moments of clarity and moments of confusion, periods of progress and periods of apparent regression. All of this is part of the process. The most important thing is to remain open, compassionate with yourself, and persistent in your search. Every step on this journey is an opportunity for growth and transformation. Now that we have explored these 9 crucial tests, I invite you to reflect. Which of these challenges resonates most deeply with you at this moment? Which test do you feel called to explore more deeply? Choose one aspect to focus on in the coming days. It could be practicing detachment, cultivating compassion, or simply being more present. Share your experience with others on this spiritual journey. Remember, every small step counts.